Welcome to a very special interview show of The Pro. Today it's my pleasure to have Sri Suresh Prabhu sir on our show. Prabhu sir has served as the Railways, Aviation, Commerce and Industry Minister of India and is the member of the Upper House of the Indian Parliament. He's a chartered accountant by profession and a member of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party. Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time to do this and a very warm welcome to The Pro.
How are you? Morning, good morning.
As we all know that there has been a lot of debate on India's potential to become the global manufacturing hub. So Prabhu sir is here with us to discuss this issue and also to talk about the major challenges that are on a way to emerge as a manufacturing hub, as well as what measures can be taken to overcome those challenges. Sir, India's corporate tax rate is now the lowest in Southeast Asia. It has reduced from 30% to about 25%. Do you think this effort of the government will boost India as a manufacturing hub?
Firstly, let me congratulate you for discussing an issue as important as this. And this also has a huge ramifications in terms of if India's manufacturing grows, it will have a huge pull effect on other sectors like services, like agriculture and many others. So it's a very important issue. And I really thank you for focusing on this particularly important issue. Let me talk about manufacturing hub from global perspective. I think we need not necessarily be focused right now, though it can be our eventual target that we should become a global hub. But even if we increase our share of manufacturing to GDP, or rather share of industry into GDP, which is currently only 16%, to even by few percentage point, maybe 20-25%, it will have a huge positive impact on many aspects of our economic activities. I remember when I was a commerce industry minister, I prepared a roadmap for a $5 trillion economy, in which I had said that the share of industry should rise from present 16% to 20%. And I prepared a detailed analysis of what in that 20% could contribute to India's GDP share in manufacturing. So we had done all that. Now coming back to the very important issue that we had raised. When we talk about manufacturing, there are various kinds of manufacturing that happens. There's a low-end manufacturing, which may not necessarily be very capital intensive, but could be labor intensive. So it has a huge positive impact on your labor force, particularly for India when it is facing a challenge of providing employment to the people, both blue-collar and white-collar jobs. It will be a good opportunity to increase the share of manufacturing, particularly into the labor-intensive industries. And there are industries which are very high-tech industries, which will have a contribution to GDP, but may not add to jobs at all. Because the high-end manufacturing could normally be very technology-driven and highly intellectual property-driven. So it may not necessarily be focused on labor intensity that is there in other forms of manufacturing, the lower-end manufacturing. Now, lower-end manufacturing need not necessarily contribute significantly to GDP, but will have this positive impact. So now let us look at all kinds of manufacturing of this kind. What you're asking me is how do we become a very important element of this global change? There is another important dimension, Ritvik, and I'm very happy that young man like you are focusing on issues like this, is global supply chains have emerged in the course of last few decades. That means nobody manufactures end-to-end in one place. There are components which are manufactured somewhere else, the raw material is sourced from somewhere else, the processing also happens in various places. And in light of all this, we have to position India. Where is that niche market available to India, wherein we can play a key role? So we have to identify that first. If we do that, then it makes sense to then build up our strategy around it. But we must identify critical areas where India can be positioned as a preferred market and preferred destination for manufacturing in India in those particular aspects. So we have to focus on that.
Okay, sir. Like, yeah. So, what according to you are the reasons why India lacks in this sector, and why is that China has outperformed India? Because we have seen many news that, as we very well know that China is currently the manufacturing hub of the world.
When, of course, this is not a good idea to compare India with any other country, but because you mentioned China, right? You mentioned about China.
Yeah.
Just look at it like this. What China did was they started the process of manufacturing from raw material to finished products in its entirety. Then they also, so in the entire value chain, they wanted to do it in China to begin with at that particular time when they started this first experiment in Shenzhen way back in 1978 or 80. That's one part. Second, they said if they are going to manufacture, say for example, power generating equipments, turbine generator, then they said, who's going to buy them? So they started putting up high quantity of power generating plants. In 1 year, China added 100,000 megawatts of electricity those days, when India's installed capacity was less than that. So China did that, but also decided that if we need to manufacture generators and turbines in China, the market is already created because the buyer will buy the entire manufacturing plant and generate electricity. But backwardly, they said every component of that will try to manufacture in China. So they wanted to put up more steel plants. They wanted to put more buildings of building, then they wanted to put more cement plants. So all of that, they decided to create an ecosystem. When you do that, it survived also on state support. As you know, China has a very high saving rate, 50%. And that saving rate, the cost of money which raised from the household is very, very low. The interest rates for household servers are not very high. So huge pool of resources was available to the state, which could be deployed into creating such huge world-class capacities and do that. But today, some of these capacities is a burden on China, not a benefit to China. The steel, they are decommissioning some of the steel plants. So therefore, we have to be conscious of the fact that not necessarily the strategy adopted by other countries can be replicable or applicable to country like India. We have to devise our own strategy. We have to work on our own priorities. We must identify what are those products which will have domestic market as well as potential for exporting globally. So when you say global hub, what probably you are meaning by that is two things. One is the global manufacturing rush to India, and they will set up their manufacturing plant. That could be one part of looking at it. The other part of looking at it is that Indian manufacturing will become global scale, and then therefore will have captured the global market. Today's situation, both are looking a little challenging. So we must focus on what is the best that we can do for ourselves and offer incentives to our domestic manufacturer. Because domestic manufacturers also have capacity. India's manufacturing history is very rich, and India can manufacture virtually anything. Now, that needs quality upgradation, that needs scale, is a point well taken. But still, it's not that India lacks in capacity to manufacture. If that is the case, then we must first encourage India's own manufacturing capabilities or entrepreneurs in India, homegrown, to make them grow faster and also invite global competition. That's fine. But if you don't encourage our own manufacturing capability and our own entrepreneurs, and at their expense try to invite outsiders, that will not be a fair to India's economy or to our own entrepreneurs.
Okay, sir. So for India to become a global manufacturing hub, more and more people need to be involved in the manufacturing hub, as you mentioned, like more and more Indian people. So do you think people are ready to work in this sector, and how can we increase the participation of this generation to this manufacturing industry? Because we are very service, or because we very well know that we are very service oriented industry, we are very service oriented people.
No, actually, the services the industry, the manufacturing part of the industry, and agriculture can grow in tandem if we have a proper integrated strategy. So again, going back to the strategy paper that I had prepared, in which $5 trillion economy, how generate services will also grow. We had identified 12 champion sectors of services. And in that, we are trying to focus on that so that those services can grow globally. Now, again, as you correctly pointed out, India is very strong in services. And it's good that we are strong in services because services have more potential to create jobs than manufacturing. And particularly the kind of manufacturing that's going to happen in future, it's going to be highly technology driven, and therefore we must do that. In fact, I will tell you something. Way back, more than 4.5 years ago, I had set up a group under chairmanship of Surjit Bhalla to devise strategy for how does India benefit strategically, geopolitically, geoeconomically, marrying both together in terms of changing global scenario, in terms of global supply chains, in terms of political changes. Some countries becoming high cost, so they will be vacating the space which we can occupy. And therefore, all the strategy was worked out. We really need to implement it. But point is, very interestingly, services and manufacturing can grow hand in hand. In fact, one depends on other. There's already manufacturing needs a lot of services support. When you talk about manufacturing, it needs support of insurance, it needs support of finance, it's support of communication. All of that is service sector. So both can grow hand in hand if we have a proper integrated strategy.
So for India to become a manufacturing powerhouse, the country will need an effective IP protection regime to instill confidence in the manufacturing ecosystem. So do you think India is doing this effectively, or there are some lags?
Actually, in the last few years, we have done dramatic progress on protecting IPs, intellectual properties. We have law, but the law itself is not enough. So we have already, I had personally held several rounds of meetings with stakeholders to ensure that we have proper administration of law. And not only administration of law, to ensure that if there are any people who are violating it, to take punitive action against them. So we have worked out the entire ecosystem. We are modernizing our own patent offices. We are trying to work on that. But point is, we must honor, and that's a very valid point, the IP is a very important element of tomorrow's manufacturing. And therefore, if you don't protect it, forget the foreigners, our own Indian manufacturer also will suffer. Because if somebody develops a very good IP and that is going to be copied by somebody else without paying any heed to the law or to the costs that are involved in it by development of IP, we are actually doing a very disservice to the person and also preventing future innovation. That's a very important thing. So if you want to build up innovative society, then we must ensure protection of IP as a high priority. So that point is absolutely right. And we are 100% correct in saying that unless we protect IP properly, the future of manufacturing, the future of innovation will be in peril.
Yeah. Okay. So what according to you are some of the major challenges that are on our way to emerge as a global manufacturing hub? What are the major challenges that you see?
See, the world is changing so fast, and therefore we cannot say that these are the only challenges as of now. One big challenge that we'll be facing in the future is that many countries are now re-looking at a strategy, and therefore there will be more and more inward looking. Countries realized during this pandemic that if you are dependent on supply chain on some foreign suppliers, then we may have a problem because they face these problems in terms of some. In fact, Japan had faced this problem some years ago when they could not get the critical rare earth, which is so important for promoting electronic industry eventually. Therefore, we have to be conscious of these challenges that are changing. We must keep changing our strategy, and that's why we must think ahead of time. And that's what I was saying, that 3.5 years ago, when there was no sign of pandemic, I had set up this group under chairmanship of Surjit Bhalla to devise a strategy for this. So we must keep revisiting it, must constantly follow it, constantly find. And then there has to be a proper unified approach, unified response from India, not just from Government of India, not from the industry of India, not from civil society of India, but India. That means all of them must come together, and we must develop such common platform whereby such unified action, unified response can be provided, and corrective action can be taken whenever needed.
Okay, so do you think that this pandemic has brought a negative impact on India's manufacturing sector? And if yes, how can we overcome this?
So the pandemic was a very important wake-up call in many ways. One is a wake-up call that you cannot ignore public health. It was a wake-up call that you cannot rely on what we thought is a normal. The normal can change to new normal very quickly. Third, it was also general overall wake-up call that economy can get affected because of issues not related to economy. Like health has affected economy today. It could be tomorrow social issues can affect economy today. So unless we take a proper holistic approach to development of society, development of nations, we cannot focus only on economy and say my economy will grow because of these fundamentals of economy at macro level or micro level. We must keep all these important elements which affect the economy on board to devise a proper strategy. So this is very, very important. And I think that one lesson we must learn quickly and must also use the knowledge acquired during facing this huge medical emergency into planning future public policy strategies.
Okay, I would like to conclude by asking, where do you see India in next 100 years in the manufacturing sector in specific?
See, India has a very bright future. Because India means Indians. The country is driven by the citizens, by the people. There's no other country comparable in terms of intellectual ability of Indians as well as the entrepreneurial spirit of Indians. We survive in many challenges. And in India, everybody is an entrepreneur. Every farmer is an entrepreneur because he takes risks. He puts his own money and try to develop. So farmer is agriculture. All the retailers in India, all those who run Kirana shop and all, they are entrepreneurs. There are many taxi drivers. Many of them are entrepreneurs. They are self-employed. So you can imagine India has a greatest advantage of having most part of Indians are entrepreneurs, barring those who are employed. So this is very, very important element of India's society. What really needed is we must allow that entrepreneurial spirit to grow by removing hurdles in the way. We should not allow some red tapeism, some bureaucratism, to not allow that entrepreneurial spirit to come to fore. If you can do that, I think India is a future of the world. And I really believe in that. I'm not even comparing any other country. I don't want to say that we'll be the world leaders. I don't want to say that. But I am very confident that India will occupy a very important key place in the community of the world and will be there for sure. Only thing is that we must believe in our own people, believe in Indians, and allow them to grow.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for this insightful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jai Hind,
Thank you.
sir.
God bless you. Thank you. Thank you.